This recording will show you a couple options for getting the document ID into your documents when you save them in iManage. First, let's look at the feature that comes with iManage. So, iManage software does have a feature that will put the document ID in the footer. It has gotten much better in the latest version than it used to be, and it might be enough for you. So let's take a quick look at how it works. First of all, there is a configuration file, an XML configuration file, that the people setting iManage up for you can set up to tell it some things that you can control about the document ID. And that's what we're looking at right here. Is you can control the information that's in it, the client number, the version, the document number, the version, client number, matter number, database, document name. All that type of information can be included and set up in here the way you want it to go. Then you can choose, do you automatically want it to go in the footer? So every time I save a document, do I want it to just put that number in there? That's what we'll be looking at. Otherwise, there's a button you can click to add it when you want it. And then you can choose the font name, the font size, and the alignment. Like maybe I want Arial 8-point left aligned. And what iManage will do when you save the document, if you have it going in, is it will go into the footer of your document, and whatever text is in there already, it will go one line below that and put the document number. Now, on this computer right now, it is set up to put it in automatically. But if it wasn't, what I could do after I save the document is I could go to the iManage ribbon and click the footer button, and that would pop it in for me. Now once I had it in there, it would automatically update if I did a save as new document or save as new version. But if I don't have it going in automatically, I'd have to click the button to put it in. All right, let's just save this document and see what it's going to do for this particular client. I'm going to save this into iManage. And there it is. They have it set up to give them the document number, a period, and then the version number to left align it. And this happens to be Times New Roman 12, which I think it actually picked up from this document as opposed to being set up in the configuration file. I don't think that was set anywhere. So it just took the font from the document. Okay, so that's kind of nice. What more could I want? Well, there are a couple ways that this is a little bit limited. Now, prior to this iManage Work 10, iManage also had a doc ID, but hardly anybody used it that I was aware of because it was so limited in that it would just wipe out the existing footer. Obviously, that's not acceptable. Well, now they're putting it after the text, so that's nice. But sometimes you may not want it in your footer, or you may have a situation where you have to control where in the footer it would go for that particular document. So with a third-party program, you can go in and tell it a lot more of what you want. And before I do that, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me just take a look at this pleading here. This is the main reason law firms would get a third-party vendor's document ID manager, because a lot of law firms on the West Coast and California in particular have to use pleading paper for certain documents. Plus, the court rules mandate that there be certain text positioned a certain way, certain margins, everything's got to be fit just so in this document. And so if I take this document here, this pleading, and I have it set up all the way the court wants it, and now I go to save it into iManage, and iManage comes along and just pops its number after whatever's already in the footer, I just pushed my footer up into the text of my document. See how my page number is with line 28 now. And so if this, let me make this text go further. or actually here, I'll just pull it up. Okay, so this is all one paragraph. You can see it. I can't get my text down to line 28 where it's supposed to go. I'm not happy about that. Okay, let me close that without saving it. Oh, okay. Let's look at what a third-party vendor solution can do. So here we have the Townsendtek one that my company developed. There are other companies that have developed some as well. So that do more. So we have three main options. Quick Add, it basically does exactly what the iManage one does. It just goes to the bottom, whatever text is in the footer, and it places the doc ID after it. Get rid of that for now. So if I use ours and I go to doc ID, Quick Add, boom, every single page of the document in the footer after whatever's there is the doc ID number. Now what you're looking at here, the reason there are two of these is just because the one iManage put in was still sitting in there. And unfortunately on my little demo computer here, it's set up to put it on every time we save. All right, now what are my other choices though? Well, I've got this Manage ID button here where I can tell it more. I could say I want it in the footer on every page. That was the default. I want it where my cursor is at the insertion point. I want it at the end of the document, which would just be after my text at the end, or I want it on the last page of the document in the footer, but only showing up on the last page. Or maybe I don't want it at all. Sometimes I don't want the number on a particular document. So if I use this, once I make the choice in here, it is going to remember it for this document, and that becomes the default for this document from then on out, unless somebody comes back into this dialog box and chooses something different. Now what else can I choose? Well, I don't have all the options here yet, but I'm going to be adding the others before this comes to a computer near you. I might want the client matter number in with that document number. I might not want the version number. I see transactional attorneys sometimes don't want the version number because of document comparisons. They don't want that changing on the document for people. And then I will have things like the document name, the database name, etc. will be things you can choose, and then you can choose what order, how you want them laid out. Now, let's say that I am an attorney at the firm and I always want the client matter number in the doc ID when I save one of my documents. I could go in and choose this and say set defaults, and that's going to set it as the default for my computer when I'm logged in as me. So there's three places the settings can be stored. The firm-wide default for this firm is just set up to the number, the letter V for version, and then the version number. And there's nothing special set with the font name or size, but that can be set as well. Then if I say set defaults to this, whenever I create a document, it will override the firm default and give me my default. And then if anyone in this document chooses something different, that becomes the default for that document until someone else goes in and makes another change. So I will have it be in the last page footer with all this information. So now I don't see it there, but if I go to the end of the document, there it is. And if I save this as a new version, as a new document, it is going to update automatically when it saves. And iManage put its little number in too. Sorry, that looked confusing, but until I get my hands on that configuration file, I don't want to mess with it. It's not my computer. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at this with the pleading then. And here I could have gotten into the footer and put my cursor where I want that doc ID, and then I could go to doc ID and here, and I could say put it at my insertion point, my cursor. Now this document has not been saved in iManage yet, so it just says unsaved. But as soon as I save it, it puts the number in. So this is our custom number. This is the iManage one that's going in regardless of my wishes. So if that had not happened, the footer would have stayed like this, and it would just have our number here and nothing would be messed up. Then another thing that I see a lot of firms like to do is they like to just put it at the end of the document. So now if I go to the end of my document, let me get out of the footer. It just went down and put it after whatever text was there. So I probably had an extra hard return. Normally it would be like this. So you have options. So to recap quickly, if all you need is the number in the footer after whatever's already in the footer, and your pleadings aren't going to be a big problem for you with that happening, you're probably just fine with the ID that comes with iManage. They have upped their game in this version where it's, it seems to work really well for those purposes. But if you want a little bit more, where you want to be able to control it where it's not necessarily in the footer, and you want, individual users to be able to make choices about where it goes for their particular document, or you don't want it on every document, but you want it on most, then you can go with a third party option. And I would assume that anyone that makes one of these options has most of those features. And looking at ours here, this update existing, all this is just a little tool. If for some reason it's not showing the right number, you can click and it will refresh it. So far I haven't had that happen though. It's always just already been updated automatically, but just in case. So there you have it. Thank you.